A child's first day at school is a milestone filled with excitement and trust. You pack their lunch, fix their hair, and send them off believing they are safe in the hands of educators. But what happens when that trust is shattered? What happens when your child comes home with their hair cut by a teacher, without your consent, without explanation, and without apology? This isn't fiction. This is the story of Jurnee Hoffmeyer, a 7-year-old girl whose ordinary school day turned into a moment that would ignite outrage, spark a legal battle, and leave a family searching for answers. Today, we take you inside a classroom in Michigan where one decision crossed an unthinkable line. We'll follow the journey of a father who refused to stay silent, a school district caught in the spotlight, and a community demanding accountability. What really happened on that day? And how did a simple haircut lead to a conversation about race, power, and personal boundaries? If stories that challenge norms and confront injustices resonate with you, make sure to subscribe and stay with us as we uncover the truth behind this shocking case. Mount Pleasant, Michigan, a small, seemingly quiet town where families go about their lives, trusting that schools are safe spaces for children to grow, learn, and thrive. This is where Jurnee Hoffmeyer, a bright-eyed, bubbly 7-year-old biracial girl, lived with her family. Her father, Jimmy Hoffmeyer, worked hard to provide for his children and believed the local school was a place where his daughter's creativity and individuality would be nurtured. But on one spring day in March 2021, that trust was broken in a way no parent could imagine. Jurnee returned home from school, her face etched with confusion and sadness. Her long, beautiful curls, so much a part of her identity, had been crudely chopped. The explanation? A teacher had decided to cut her hair, claiming it was uneven. But there was no call, no permission sought, and no consultation with her parents. Jimmy, standing at his front door, was left staring in disbelief at his daughter's altered appearance, wondering what right anyone had to make such a decision without his knowledge or consent. The news spread quickly in the neighborhood, sparking conversations that ranged from bewilderment to outrage. Questions began to surface. Why had the teacher done this? Was this an act of ignorance, or was something deeper at play? The Hoffmeyer family, still reeling from the shock, would soon learn that this was only the beginning of a much larger fight, not just for their daughter, but for the principle of respect and dignity in education. The days passed. The Hoffmeyers' personal nightmare became a public outcry. Jimmy Hoffmeyer took to social media, sharing his daughter's story in a heartfelt post that struck a nerve with parents and activists alike. The images of Jurnee, her unevenly cut hair, a stark reminder of what had been done, quickly went viral. Local news outlets picked up the story, and soon it wasn't just a community issue, it was a national one. Calls flooded into the Mount Pleasant School District demanding an explanation, yet the school's response? A statement citing a policy violation, but denying any racial or malicious intent, only fueled the outrage. For Jimmy, this wasn't just about a haircut. It was about a breach of trust, an erosion of personal boundaries, and a perceived disregard for his daughter's racial and cultural identity. Determined to seek justice, Jimmy filed a $1 million lawsuit against the school district, accusing them of racial discrimination and violating Jurnee's constitutional rights. The legal action brought even more attention to the case, with civil rights organizations stepping in to offer support. The incident became a rallying cry, a symbol of systemic insensitivity that many believed went far beyond a single classroom. Protests were organized, demanding accountability and cultural sensitivity training for educators. On the steps of the courthouse, community members gathered with signs that read, "Our kids are not experiments," and "Respect starts with education." For the Hoffmeyers, the support was overwhelming, but it couldn't erase the pain of what Jurnee had endured. The fight was far from over, and the world was watching to see how it would unfold. The school district concluded its investigation. Their findings were met with skepticism. The district acknowledged that the teacher had violated policy by cutting Jurnee's hair without parental consent. However, they stopped short of attributing the act to racial bias. Instead, the incident was framed as a misunderstanding, a lapse in judgment, rather than a deliberate act of discrimination. For many, this explanation only deepened the divide between the district and the community. Parents, activists, and civil rights organizations voiced their frustration, arguing that the district's response failed to address the deeper issue, the cultural and emotional significance of Jurnee's hair. For a biracial child, hair is more than just appearance. It's a connection to identity and heritage. The teacher's actions, whether intentional or not, were seen as a violation of that connection, a message that Jurnee's individuality could be disregarded. As the legal battle unfolded, the stakes grew higher. Jurnee Hoffmeyer, standing firm in his resolve, pressed forward with a $1 million lawsuit accusing the school district of racial discrimination and a violation of his daughter's constitutional rights. The case drew national attention, with legal experts weighing in on its implications. Could this lawsuit set a precedent for addressing racial insensitivity in schools? Would it prompt districts across the country to rethink their policies? Court proceedings revealed conflicting narratives. The teacher involved maintained that the haircut was an attempt to even out Jurnee's hair after another student had cut a portion of it earlier. Yet for the Hoffmeyers and their supporters, this explanation rang hollow. To them, the issue wasn't just about the act. It was about the failure to understand the cultural weight it carried. The courtroom became a stage for a broader debate on race, education, and the limits of authority in shaping a child's identity. The case ultimately reached a settlement, but the lessons it left behind were far from settled. The Mount Pleasant School District implemented new policies aimed at preventing similar incidents. These included mandatory cultural sensitivity training for staff and stricter guidelines on personal boundaries between educators and students. But for Jurnee's family, the changes came too late to undo the harm done. Jurnee Hoffmeyer, speaking in interviews after the case, shared mixed emotions. While he was grateful for the outpouring of support and the reforms that followed, he couldn't help but reflect on the emotional toll the incident had taken on his daughter. Jurnee, once a carefree and confident child, had grown more reserved. For her, the experience was a painful reminder of how quickly trust could be broken. The broader implications of the case rippled across the nation. Schools began to evaluate their own practices, recognizing that acts perceived as minor could carry profound consequences. Educational forums held discussions on the importance of cultural competence, emphasizing that respecting a child's identity isn't just about policies. It's about fostering an environment of understanding and respect. For the Hoffmeyers, the journey was one of heartbreak and resilience. Their story became a catalyst for change, inspiring others to speak out against injustices, no matter how small they might seem. And while the scars of that day may never fully heal, their fight left an indelible mark on the educational system. This story reminds us of the critical role educators play, not just in shaping minds, but in respecting the identities and boundaries of the children entrusted to their care. Jurnee Hoffmeyer's experience may have started with a single act, but its impact resonated far beyond one classroom, sparking conversations and driving change in schools across the country. What do you think about this case? Did the school district do enough to address the situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story as compelling as we did, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that matter. Next week, join us as we delve into another extraordinary story, a community that stood together to challenge unjust policies and rewrite the rules for generations to come. You won't want to miss it.